Hello and welcome to this week's edition of ECTV News. I'm Ray Newcomb.
And I'm Brianna Marr. Let's take a look at what's happening around campus this week.
This Wednesday beginning at 5, come out front of the Callahan Dining Hall and buy a ticket for the Willpower Raffle. Tickets are $3 a piece and all proceeds benefit the Archibald Scholarship.
On Thursday, come help out the NSCDC as they hold their annual Holiday Spectacular. Volunteers are needed to assist children with holiday arts and crafts in Hallcroft Park in Beverly.
And at 7 p.m. on Thursday, come down to Gully's and take in some informed discussion with the Communications Department's Come As You Are series as it hosts its third installment. This week's topic, studying abroad.
On Friday at 5 p.m., unleash your inner kid with Hillel as they screen Zootopia in the chapel.
And at 10 p.m., throw on an ugly sweater and come down to the field house as CAB presents their Winter Holiday Bash. Tickets are $5 and can be purchased in advance.
On Saturday at 1:40 p.m., the men's ice hockey team will take on WNE in the Bork Arena. Don't miss your chance to catch some ice-cold action.
On Monday the 5th, come enjoy bingo as ARG hosts their bingo night. Beginning at 6, come on down and have a ball while helping those with disabilities.
On Tuesday, come to AC 263 and join in the fun at ECTV. Beginning at 6:30, come meet some cool people and immerse yourself in the world of TV production.
Our very own Matt Pritchard has everything involved in the Gulls world of sports. Let's take it over and see what's going on. Take it away, Matt.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of EC Sports. For ECTV, I'm Matt Pritchard. The women's ice hockey team remains undefeated as they picked up 2 wins versus Stevenson over break. The first win came with a shutout from CHC goaltender of the week, Vendela Johnson, while CHC player of the week, Caroline Hughes, helped the Gulls to a 3-2 victory in the second meeting. The Lady Gulls will be back in action at home this weekend as they host St. Michael's on Saturday and William Smith on Sunday. On the men's side, they extended their winning streak as they picked up 2 wins over break. They beat Suffolk 3-2 before scoring 5 goals versus Assumption to pick up the 5-2 victory. They'll be back in action at home on Thursday and Saturday as they host Curry and Western New England. The men's basketball team now has a national ranking. The Gulls were ranked number 24 in the country as they sit 2-1 on the season. The loss came to number 3 Babson, while the 2 wins came versus Anna Maria and previously ranked number 24 Middlebury. The Gulls have been led by Daquan Sampson, who was named CCC Player of the Week. They'll be in action Wednesday as they host Curry College for the home opener, and they will travel to Eastern Nazarene Saturday the 3rd. On the women's side of the court, the women's basketball team is off to a 1-3 start. Their win came versus Keene State as CCC Player of the Week Gabriella Capella dropped a career-high 19 points. Their home opener will also be Wednesday versus Curry and will be also followed up by a trip to Eastern Nazarene on Saturday. And that'll do it for this week in EC Sports. For ECTV, I'm Matt Pritchard. Get out there and support your sports teams.
Now let's take it to Shake My Head News with Lexi and Riley.
Hi, and welcome to Shake My Head News, where we give you this week's most absurd news stories. I'm Riley Fitzgibbons.
And I'm Lexi Lozano. To kick off this week, a Montreal man was hit with a fine of $101 last week after offering free hugs to passersby at a metro station. Tommy Boucher stood at Montreal's Jean Talon metro station on November 22nd wearing his green Free Hugs t-shirt when he was approached by local transport officials who asked if he had a permit. Writing about the incident on his blog, Boucher, who had been giving out free hugs for almost a year, was surprised by the question. He went on to say the inspector then opened his little bylaws booklet and turned pages until he figured out something that could stick with what I was doing. You keep doing you, Tommy.
On Monday, an amusement park in Kitayushu, Japan, was criticized for their unusual ice skating attraction. Beneath the surface of the ice rink were visible frozen fish shaping out the word hello with an arrow pointing skaters which direction to go. Even though there were a variety of 25 different sea creatures, park attendees were unamused with the diversity in frozen wildlife. While the park had originally seen this as a fun attraction and unique feature, attendees were offended and upset by the fish display. Shocked employees have apologized and are scheduling a memorial service for the dead fish that are currently being removed from the ice rink.
A man in his 30s had to be rescued by firefighters earlier this week after he became stuck in a height-adjustable desk. Emergency workers responded to a call in the Danish city of Horsens and had to use a battering ram to gain access to the stricken man's home and free him from his furniture. Somehow the tabletop had dropped down over his legs, and he was sat in a chair with his leg laid over the metal beam under the tabletop. It was quite impossible for him to get free, and he was in great pain, said an officer. Luckily, the man's phone was in reach, so he called emergency services and waited for assistance. When firefighters arrived on the scene, they found his front door was locked. Firefighters did not know how bad things were until they saw him firmly wedged inside his desk. I can't say I've been there, but hey, I guess it happens.
A new and unexpected gift is going to be at the top of wish lists this year, for cheese lovers at least. The Fondoodler cheese gun is all the rage with dairy enthusiasts. Acting as a hot glue gun for cheesy goodness, the Fondoodler cheese gun allows your inner child to come out and play with your food without being scolded. BuzzFeed's newest creation is only $25 and is already a popular item. I think it's a good idea.
That's all we have here for you today. Tune in next week where we reveal all of the wacky things people around the world are doing. Thanks for tuning in.
And thanks for being foolish. Back to the desk.
It's been a crazy week around the world we call home, and Chessie's here to tell you all about it. Take it away, Chessie.
Hello everyone, this is World News and I'm Chessie Kim. An 89-year-old former soldier in England has posted an advert asking for a job as he is dying of boredom after the death of his wife 2 years ago. Joe Bartley posted an advert saying senior citizen 89 seeks employment, 20 plus hours per week, still able to clean, light gardening, DIY, and anything. I have references, old soldier, airborne services, save me from dying of boredom. The widower says he's sick of sitting at home with nothing to do and says he has felt like he's in solitary confinement since his wife died. The veteran was a member of the airborne forces and served with the army in Palestine just after the Second World War and was later self-employed as a sign writer. He only retired aged 83. A Japanese amusement park has sparked outrage after displaying almost 5,000 dead fish frozen into the ice at a skating rink. Space World opened the rink in early November, but was forced to close the attraction on Sunday after floods of criticism on social media. The company was forced to reassure customers that the fish were purchased from a fish market and were dead before being frozen into the rink. They are now planning to hold a memorial service for the fish once they are taken out of the ice. Skaters were able to glide over at least 25 different kinds of fish, which could be seen under the ice in the 820-foot-long rink. Images on Japanese broadcaster NHK showed the fish frozen in the ice on the blue floor, making it look like they were swimming below the ice. Some of the fish were arranged to spell out hello or in arrows shape in the ice. The ice aquarium in the western Japanese city of Kitakyushu was accused of being disrespectful to animals. The evenings are getting darker and the nights are colder. Yet, while we turn up the heating and snuggle up on the sofa, it is important to remember not everyone is as lucky. There are people out on the street having to fight through it. People like this guy who was spotted sleeping on the streets in the UK by Brandy V and her boyfriend, John. They noticed that the man had recently come to their neighborhood to sleep in a makeshift tent and wanted to show him that to them he was just as important a part of the community as any of their other neighbors. As the couple was cleaning their apartment, John suggested that they make their new neighbor a winter care package, complete with anything he may need, such as blankets and canned food. They filled the backpack with food and hygiene items before filling another bag with a duvet, 2 pillows, and a sweater. John then wrote his new neighbor a letter to let him know that they were there for him. The letter was later posted to the Love What Matters Facebook page, where it received over 44,000 likes. It read, "Dear neighbor, I know we haven't met, but we've noticed you in the neighborhood. It is getting colder outside, so we brought you some stuff that we thought might help. And we just wanted to say welcome to the neighborhood." A university in Germany has risked making itself very unpopular with its students by banning leftovers in the canteen. Students at the University of Freiburg have been allowed to collect discarded food off a Sushi-style conveyor belt. However, the university has now banned the movement. Renee Hayberger, Deputy Managing Director of the Freiburg Student Center, said, "When it came up, we let it run. But when it became a bigger phenomenon, we had to discuss it at the board meeting. The food is a hygiene risk. If something happens, the manager is liable." Predictably, students are pretty upset about losing their rights to free food. Jonathan Frey said no one would complain if they became ill from the food, and said he hopes the students' union can work on a compromise. The university is so keen on people sticking to the new ban that they are planning to build a cover over the conveyor belt. A dating coach is running flirting workshop for refugees in Germany, saying it will help them to integrate in society. Horst Wenzel, who called himself Mr. Flirt, normally charges men thousands of dollars for his advice in attracting the opposite sex. But he organized these workshops for free, saying that everyone has the right to find love. Last week, he offered his third installment of How to Fall in Love in Germany, taking 11 young men. Part of the lesson covered pick-up lines, asking people what they thought was a good seduction line. Mr. Flirt offered a few examples, such as, "I really love the scent of your perfume," and "You have a beautiful voice." That's it for this week. Now back to the desk.
Recently, Endicott alum Tori Bonney returned to campus to talk to students about her years in public service. ECTV's own Matt Layton took some time to sit down with Miss Bonney and talk to her about her experiences. Let's check it out.
So why don't you just give us, to start, your background. You're a 2006 graduate of Endicott College.
Yes.
What did you do right after graduating here?
So I graduated from Endicott in 2006, as you said. So it's been about a decade since I've been back. When I graduated, I went and ran for state representative in New Hampshire. I narrowly lost by 26 votes, thank goodness. And I moved on to become the press secretary for the Massachusetts Speaker of the House when we did Massachusetts health reform, which later became the blueprint for the Affordable Care Act. And fast forward about a decade later, I became the spokesperson for the Affordable Care Act for the federal government in 6 states, all of New England, over the last 3 years. And most recently, I helped with the 2016 election cycle for Planned Parenthood Action Fund.
What made you transition from, running yourself for office into more of a spokesperson for these organizations?
It's a good question. You have to have a really strong gut to run for office. I'm glad I tried it. I do think we live in a time with very little privacy, and I really think it takes a strong heart to put your whole family through the electoral process. That said, it is a wonderful thing to give your life of service. I just think I'm better suited maybe behind the camera.
What was your experience going through what is being called an unprecedented election?
It was an incredible thing to be a part of, particularly working for Planned Parenthood as we advocated for women's health candidates. New Hampshire is a bright spot in the nation. Although Hillary didn't win overall, she did win New Hampshire, and we won the U.S. Senate race up there, and we will be sending the first all-female Democratic delegation to Congress from New Hampshire.
And you're originally from New Hampshire?
I am. I'm from Manchester. That's where I ran for state representative.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So now that the election is over, what are your plans moving forward?
So I'd love to stay working for women's healthcare access. As we've seen, the Trump administration is intent on overturning Roe v. Wade, which is a landmark case that provided abortion rights to women. That's a 50-year-old law, and I'm intent on preserving it. And also Planned Parenthood funding is really critical. It provides birth control and cancer screenings to thousands, millions of low-income women and families in this country, and he's also said he would defund Planned Parenthood and has said most recently that he'd appoint judges to the Supreme Court who will overturn Roe v. Wade. So my hope is to keep working on this agenda, helping empowering women to get the health care they need, and also defending the Affordable Care Act, which has been so critical for a generation of women and families. The war in Iraq is why I really became politically aware 10 years ago. And so I think I initially started working on campaigns. My first ever was the presidential election where George W. Bush was elected, but I worked in the primary for Howard Dean. And so my interest was largely about foreign affairs, and then it grew into healthcare because I found healthcare is foundational to all things, economic things, anything in your life. If you're not well, you can't work. And so when I talk about abortion rights, I'm talking about the biggest economic decision a woman will ever make in her life. There's literally nothing else that a woman will take on in terms of graduate school or a home ownership that's the same as the choice to have a child. And so that's important, abortion rights, but also access to healthcare on a basic level. If you cannot go to work because you're ill, then your family suffers and you suffer. And so that being so foundational to everything, health policy has really been something that drives me, and I think that's why I got into politics and have stayed in it.
Your Endicott education really helped you get into these positions. What advice do you have for any students who are looking to get into the political realm moving forward?
I would say try. You know, keep meeting people and be aggressive in who you can meet and network with. And also, you know, you may not agree with me politically, but I am here as a resource for you. And I'm always happy to talk to folks about my journey. And I would say it's really important to try things on campus. I had done a political initiative on campus when I was my senior year. I'd written an op-ed for the International Herald Tribune and Boston Globe about the war. And it basically called out my peers for being apathetic about the war. And Dr. Wiley challenged me and said, if you think everyone's apathetic, well, what are you going to do about it? I'll give you a small nest egg to try and engage the population. So I got newspapers delivered to, I mean, you have this now probably every day, but 10 years ago, newspapers were not being delivered to every dorm. I had these little table tents that I put on every student center table where I talked about the news of the week. And I did different initiatives to get kids to care about what was happening in our lives, particularly as it related to the war, because so many of our peers weren't serving or untouched by it. We had like a yellow ribbon, but not much more. So, you know, that initiative, maybe it wasn't as successful as a campaign that I've run later in life, but it was a great starter balloon. And that's the joy of being at Endicott. It's such a small school that try. There's an opportunity for that. There's creative latitude. And that's a testament to our leadership and also our professors here.
And that's about all the news for this week. For ECTV, I'm Ray Newcomb.
And I'm Brianna Marr. Thanks for watching.